Tragedy in the city. The heartbreaking death of Anna from a skyscraper's falling window. On a peaceful afternoon on October 8, 1999, the city of Chicago was shaken by a heartbreaking incident in its downtown core. Anna, 36, was walking along a bustling street with her 3-year-old daughter. The two were enjoying a moment together when disaster suddenly struck from above. From a 29th floor of the CNA Center, one of the city's prominent high-rises, a large window pane unexpectedly popped out of its frame and plummeted to the street below. With no time to react, the heavy pane of glass struck Anna on the head, killing her instantly in front of horrified onlookers. Her daughter, thankfully unharmed, had to witness that terrifying moment at such a young age. The incident sparked a wave of outrage and intense debate among the public regarding the safety of skyscrapers. Chicago residents questioned the responsibility for maintenance and inspection of glass and building materials in high-rise structures within a crowded urban area. Following Anna's death, authorities launched a comprehensive investigation into the CNA Center. The incident led to the review and repair of numerous window systems on high-rise buildings across Chicago to prevent similar tragedies from occurring. Anna's death serves as a painful reminder of the hidden dangers posed by massive architectural structures, while also highlighting the importance of ensuring public safety in a modern urban environment. Prolonged negligence and the price of indifference. The real cause behind Anna's death. The death of Anna was not a sudden accident or a rare mishap. Behind the tragedy lay a long chain of mistakes and prolonged negligence in the maintenance of the CNA Center, a building considered an architectural icon in the heart of Chicago. In fact, for 27 years prior to the incident, the building had repeatedly experienced problems with cracked and broken window panes. This was not an isolated phenomenon, but a systemic issue. The pane of glass that caused Anna's death had been found to have a crack for 17 weeks. Instead of replacing or properly addressing it, the building's management simply taped over the crack and pressed a piece of plywood against it as a temporary fix. This unprofessional and irresponsible solution turned the window pane into a ticking time bomb, suspended between a high floor and the lives of pedestrians below. This raises serious questions about the responsibility of the building's management, as well as the urban safety oversight system. If past incidents have been thoroughly addressed and the cracked window replaced in time, the tragedy could have been avoided. The incident was not only a source of grief for Anna's family, but also a wake-up call for society about the consequences of downplaying public safety. A single act of carelessness, a single makeshift measure, sometimes that is all it takes to claim a human life. Anna's death was not caused by fate, but by the prolonged indifference of those responsible. Deadly negligence, when aesthetics are placed above life. The tragedy that led to the heartbreaking death of Anna stemmed not only from a cracked window pane, but also from the direct consequence of almost unbelievable negligence and apathy from the management of the CNA Center. What enraged the public even more was the fact that those responsible were fully aware of the looming danger, but chose to ignore it. Just 2 hours before the accident occurred, a maintenance worker reported that he could hear the sound of wind whistling through the crack in the 29th floor window, a clear sign that the glass was weak and at risk of falling at any moment. However, instead of taking urgent action or cordoning off the dangerous area, the building's management continued to delay the window replacement because they were prioritizing another task, repainting the building's exterior to improve its appearance. This deeply irresponsible decision led to a grave consequence. A mother lost her life on the street, right in front of her 3-year-old daughter. The act of placing aesthetics above human safety revealed a distorted management mindset and a lack of professional ethics. After the incident, many people asked if the management had acted immediately upon hearing the whistling wind, if they had considered human life their top priority instead of a new coat of paint, would Anna still be alive? Her death is not just a personal tragedy, but also a damning indictment of a management system that devalues human life. It is a bitter lesson about the price to be paid when people choose beauty over safety. Legal and financial consequences after Anna's death. The price of negligence. Following the tragedy in which Anna was killed by falling glass from a high-rise, the CNA company, owner of the CNA Center, faced a fierce wave of criticism from the public and authorities. Not only did the incident cause irreparable pain to the victim's family, but also cost the company a hefty price, both legally and financially. Under pressure from public opinion and clear evidence of prolonged negligence in building management and maintenance, the CNA company was fined and forced to implement strict remedial measures. One of the most significant actions was spending $9 million to replace all 3,000 window panes in the building to ensure the safety of residents and pedestrians. Additionally, Anna's family received a settlement of $18 million from the company, a large sum that could never compensate for the emotional loss and the sudden death of a wife and mother. The case became a powerful wake-up call regarding the responsibility of building owners and management entities in ensuring community safety. It was a costly lesson that when safety is taken lightly, the consequences are not just financial, they are human lives. Tragedy in an artificial cave. Man trapped at an entertainment center in the UK. In the spring of 2023, a rare but haunting accident occurred at the Kong Adventure Center, located in the UK. While attending a birthday party held there, a 49-year-old man became accidentally trapped inside the artificial caving system, a play area designed to simulate a real cave with narrow and winding tunnels. The victim entered a particularly narrow tunnel within the system, but unfortunately became stuck while trying to move through a section that was too small for his body, with no support equipment or direct staff supervision at that moment. The man was trapped in an extremely dangerous and panicked state. Immediately after the incident was discovered, an emergency rescue team was dispatched to the scene. The rescue operation lasted for several hours, creating a tense atmosphere for the entire center and for those who witnessed it. The incident sparked much controversy regarding the safety procedures of artificial play areas, especially for activities involving high physical exertion and risk. Although intended for entertainment, if not carefully supervised, areas like simulated caves can easily become places of deadly, hidden danger, a breathless rescue, and a tragic death from crush syndrome after the 49-year-old man became trapped in the artificial caving system at the Kong Adventure Center. Rescue teams were quickly dispatched to the scene. However, the rescue was anything but easy. He was stuck in an extremely narrow section of the tunnel, which was inaccessible with standard rescue equipment. The rescue operation lasted over 4 hours, requiring high tension and advanced skills. The rescue team had to ensure the victim's safety while avoiding worsening his trapped condition. Eventually, the man was extracted from the cave while still conscious and was immediately transported to the hospital. However, in an unexpected turn, he passed away a week later. The cause of death was determined to be crush syndrome, a serious medical condition that occurs when muscles are compressed for a prolonged period. When blood flow returns after rescue, the severely damaged muscles begin to release a large amount of toxins, mainly potassium, myoglobin, and lactic acid, into the bloodstream. These toxins quickly spread throughout the body, leading to kidney failure, cardiac arrhythmia, and ultimately multi-organ failure. His death was not just a personal loss, but also a shock to the public. The incident raised major questions about the safety protocols and design of adventure play areas, especially those that simulate confined spaces like caves. A minor lapse in supervision could lead to irreversible consequences. What makes the heartbreaking death of the 49-year-old man at the Kong Adventure Center even more poignant is the fact that the accident was entirely preventable had past warnings not been ignored. On the travel review site TripAdvisor, a review posted 6 years earlier had clearly described a nearly identical incident in the same artificial cave area. In the post, a visitor recounted the terrifying experience of an adult man almost getting stuck fast in an overly narrow tunnel within the caving system. The writer warned that the area was dangerously designed and unsuitable for adults of average build or larger. Although this review was a clear, real-world warning, the Kong Adventure Center apparently took no corrective action. There is no evidence that the narrow passages were widened, safety warnings were updated, or monitoring systems were enhanced to prevent similar situations from occurring. This disregard for clear warning signs contributed directly to the tragic death years later. It demonstrated a lack of responsibility in risk management, where user feedback, though unofficial, is a valuable source of information for timely adjustments to protect human lives. This painful story is a reminder that in any activity involving public safety, complacency and indifference to even the smallest warnings can be paid for with a life. The tragic death of the 49-year-old man at the Kong Adventure Center left a deep impact not only on the victim's family, but also on the community and the center itself. One of the first and most noticeable actions after the incident was the quiet removal of the artificial cave, where the accident occurred, from the center's official website. Previously, the simulated cave area had been advertised as one of the center's main attractions, suitable for both children and adults who love adventure and exploration. However, following the fatal accident, all information, images, and descriptions of the cave completely vanished from the website, as if it had never existed. This action was seen as an effort to minimize public attention and negative reactions, rather than demonstrating a clear commitment to improving safety. Many argued that instead of quietly removing it, the center should have been transparent about the cause of the incident and outline corrective measures, including a review of all its operational adventure attractions. Removing the information can be seen as a reactive, damage control measure, indicating a lack of readiness to face responsibility from the center's management. The incident also raised concerns about the level of transparency at recreational venues, where safety is sometimes compromised for novel experiences or commercial gain. Silence does not erase the consequences. The tragedy is a wake-up call. Safety issues cannot be hidden or removed. They must be addressed thoroughly, openly, and responsibly. Tragedy on a field trip. Landslide buries students at Lilydale Park. On May 22, 2013, a field trip that was meant to be fun and educational for fourth grade students turned into a disaster when a sudden landslide occurred at Lilydale Regional Park in Minnesota, USA. That day, 2 classes of students were participating in an outdoor activity, a fossil hunting expedition, in a geologically unique area of the park. This was a popular destination for hands-on learning programs about nature and paleontology. However, the weather in the area had seen continuous heavy rain in the preceding days, causing the soil on the hillside to become saturated and unstable. As the students and teachers were exploring an area at the base of a hill, a large section of earth suddenly collapsed, burying several students under mud and debris. Panic screams filled the park as teachers and fellow students frantically tried to rescue them. Emergency rescue teams were mobilized to the scene quickly, but the complex terrain and continuously sliding earth made the search and rescue efforts extremely difficult. The landslide resulted in 1 student being killed at the scene, another dying later from severe injuries, and 2 students being seriously injured. This tragedy shocked the local community and the entire state, raising major questions about the safety of natural excursion sites, especially during adverse weather conditions. The fossil hunting trip, a symbol of discovery and learning, became a painful, indelible memory for the victims' families, the school, and the entire society. The sudden landslide on May 22, 2013 at Lilydale Park, Minnesota, left behind a devastating outcome. As 4th grade students were on a fossil hunting field trip, a large section of earth collapsed, burying several children under a heavy layer of mud and soil. Although rescue teams were quickly dispatched to the scene, the rescue operation faced immense difficulties due to the adverse geological conditions. The collapsed soil was not like ordinary mud but had a texture like wet cement, both dense and heavy, making excavation slow and dangerous. Efforts to reach the trapped students were severely hampered by the continuously shifting and sliding earth. In the accident, 2 young children tragically lost their lives. One was 9 years old and the other was 10. Both were diligent students, at an age full of curiosity and excitement to explore the natural world. Their deaths were a huge shock not only to their families, but to the entire community of students, teachers, and local residents. Additionally, many other students were injured and suffered from psychological trauma, requiring monitoring and treatment after the event. This tragedy is a bitter reminder of the potential dangers of seemingly harmless outdoor activities, especially when weather and geological factors are not fully assessed. The loss of 2 young lives on a school trip plunged the entire state of Minnesota into mourning and raised serious questions about risk management in outdoor education programs. Although the 2013 landslide at Lilydale Park was declared a natural disaster by city officials, much evidence suggests it was not an entirely unexpected event. In reality, the risk of landslides in this area had been previously warned of and tragically had been ignored. 2 years earlier, in 2011, a similar landslide had occurred in the very same cliff area where students often went fossil hunting. Although there were fortunately no casualties that time, the event should have served as a serious warning to authorities and park management about the high-risk nature of the terrain, especially after heavy rain saturated the soil and made it unstable. However, instead of reviewing safety protocols, city officials continued to issue hundreds of permits each year for schools to hold field trips at Lilydale Park, including activities in the area where the previous landslide had occurred. There is no evidence that any new preventive measures were implemented, such as barriers, periodic geological assessments, or mandatory safety briefings. Ignoring these clear warning signs led to the needless deaths of 2 young children and caused the community to raise serious questions about the responsibility of those in charge. Instead of preventing it early, they accepted the risk and ultimately paid the price with the lives of innocent children. The 2013 tragedy, therefore, was not merely a natural accident but a preventable tragedy, had past warnings been heeded and acted upon in time. Following the devastating landslide at Lilydale Park on May 22, 2013, which killed 2 students, city officials were forced to take urgent action to address the wave of public outrage and sharp questions about management responsibility. One of the first actions taken was to suspend all permits for schools to conduct field trips at Lilydale Park, particularly in the area where the landslide had occurred. This decision was aimed at preventing the risk of similar accidents in the future, as the park had not yet been fully reassessed for safety. Additionally, the city undertook geological stabilization measures within the park, including improving the drainage system to limit soil saturation, installing hazard warning signs at landslide-prone spots, and redesigning outdoor activity areas to be more suitable for natural conditions and the age of students. Notably, the local government also paid a total of $1 million in compensation to the victims' families, partly to demonstrate responsibility and share in the loss, and partly as an indirect admission that the deaths of the 2 children were not entirely an unpreventable natural event. This tragedy left a bitter lesson. In seemingly harmless activities like a school field trip, a lack of risk assessment, and the ignoring of warnings can result in the permanent loss of young, innocent lives. The city was forced to change, but that change came too late for the 2 unfortunate students.